Hello everyone, hope you have enjoyed our previous episodes. In this episode we want to spread this message that rowing in the Indian subcontinent is not all about practice, set attention, go and easy. But there are other aspects of the rowing sport which the rowers seldom exploit. The athletes who takes up rowing not only have the option to do competitive rowing and get into the winning and losing mode, but also have the option to derive the pride and satisfaction associated with winning by being a part of a rowing expedition. Today we bring to you all an unfocused aspect of rowing, which exists in our world of rowing, but seldom do we engage us to steer our boat in this lane. Yes, today we will share the story relating to the rowing sport, which is also an adventure sport, and in India way back in the 90s, 20 rowers has proved that the same can be undertaken and could be completed. We will hear from Mr. Mehta about it in details.
Indian Army has an adventure cell. So at that time, the couple of boys from the Indian Ordinance Core with Diptanshu Chaudhary taking the initiative, they wanted to do some expedition in rowing. So they came over to me and they suggested that can we have an expedition in rowing along the river Ganges. I said yes, why not? It's a good idea because normally rowing and in expedition nobody has done such an adventure. Normally we do rowing as a competitive rowing. This will be a very good idea for the future generation to think over it and try. So we had at that time about 12-15 boys from the Army Ordnance Corps which were rowing at BRC, and we took 4+ boats from BRC, and there were another 2 boats 4+ which were owned by the Ordnance team themselves. And then before the expedition we had to do a lot of groundwork. We had to send somebody for the recce of the whole river, and which points we can rest and which points we can hold on, and discussions and how to plan. It took us about a month and a half to do the full planning, and then we sent our boats by road in the Army long platform track, and by the time the trucks reached Haridwar, we also went by train and reached Haridwar at the same time to unload the boats and make them fit for the expedition. Rowing. We had 2 possibilities. One was to row down the Ganges from Haridwar to Kolkata, and another option was to row in the river Nile in Egypt. So as you all know, Egypt has 2 Niles. One is the White Nile, one is the Blue Nile. But due to some government restrictions, the Indian Army could not fulfill the Nile expedition. But we were very sure that if that does not succeed, we went in for the Haridwar rowing. It was a challenge to us because no one so far in the history of Indian rowing, I wouldn't say Indian rowing, I would say world rowing, nobody had taken these pose in rough waters from the river Ganges, starting from as you all know, the Ganges starts from somewhere up Haridwar, but up Haridwar was very turbulent and full of rocks. So we decided to take Haridwar as our launching pad. Haridwar, you all know, Haridwar means, Hari is Shiv, Lord Shiv, and Dwar means the door. So Haridwar is the door to the entrance of Lord Shiva's house. So we decided to launch our expedition from Haridwar. And The then Defence Minister Shri Mulayam Singh Yadav was invited by the Indian Army to flag us off, and you will see a couple of pictures which will be shown that how we took off. And first of all, we did a recce. Recce is the survey of the whole route. So in the recce, we found out the total distance covering was around roughly 2,600 kilometers. So we decided that in an average, comfortably taking rests, we can travel about 70 kilometers a day. So we took 4 boats with us. 2 were standby and 2 used to be put in the waters. Every evening, we used to check up the boats, and in many places due to the rocks, our boat fin used to break, and then we used to launch the standby boats and repair the broken boat for the next day. Yes, we used to start early morning as with the sunrise. We used to have our dry breakfast consisting of bananas, bread, egg, and few biscuits. And we used to roll our boat down the Ganges and cover up. We used to survey the map for that day. And we used to mark out 70 kilometers will be suppose a village A or maybe a town A. And we used to try to reach there by sunset. So our aim was to row from sunrise to sunset, covering roughly plus minus 70 kilometers a day. It was a beautiful experience seen throughout India, right from Haridwar to Roorkee to UP, from Banaras, Kanpur, Allahabad, into Bengal. We entered your Malda, Damodar Valley, and down the Man of War Jetty. So after about a month and a half, we reached Man of War Jetty, and we were received by the GOC Eastern Command at that time and given a warm welcome. This expedition of ours went into the Limca Book of Records also, and we could not publicize it much because it was an army expedition.
I am sure that during the expedition, you all must have had lot of experiences, which all we would love to hear.
This was an experience we observed somewhere near Varanasi, about 100 kilometers before Varanasi, on the river bank, on the river Ganges bank. We saw a huge crowd. We thought it must be a dead body or something. We came closer to the bank, and to my surprise, I saw a naked sadhu sitting on a bank. His waist was tied with a rope, thick rope. The other end of the rope was tied to a 35 horsepower speedboat. And you people will not believe, the speedboat in full throttle could not pull that sadhu away from the bank. This is called pure yoga. With the power of yoga, a speedboat having a 35 horsepower OBM could not move the sadhu or the sannyasi for even an inch. It was a sight I still remember, a wonderful sight. Another expedition was a very fearful one. As you all know, in Allahabad, it's called the Sangam, where 3 rivers meet. From one side comes the Ganges, from another side comes the river Yamuna, and from below comes the river Saraswati. This is the point where the 3 rivers meet, and there is a terrible turbulence at that meeting point. I was coxing one boat. I could visualize that something wrong is further down. I avoided that turbulence, went along the bank, covered that turbulence, and came across. The other boat cox was not that experienced. He went straight into the turbulence, And my dear friends, you will not believe a whole full 4 plus, roughly around 50 feet long, was just rotating like a helicopter. And slowly, the whole boat was being pulled down. That was the biggest shock of my life, that I was helpless to save my 5 crew members. But with the grace of God, there were many fishermen sitting there. They could realize what was happening. So immediately they started throwing their fishing nets, which caught the riggers of the boat, and then they started pulling the other way, and slowly the boat, which was nearly a waist deep up to the rowers, slowly came up into the water level. That was a terrible experience and a really unforgettable one. Another experience of ours was somewhere in Bihar. See, after the sunset, we used to camp on the river banks. It was all sand. We used to put our tents and we used to make our dinner, have it, and sleep on the river sand. So one early morning at about 4 o'clock, we were woken up and we saw dacoits surrounding us. Their face was covered with the gamcha and they had their one-barrel, one-shot guns with them. Later we realized that someone had informed them that this is an army expedition and we are carrying arms and ammunition. They surrounded us to snatch or loot our arms and ammunition. We told them that this expedition is not carrying any arms and ammunition. This expedition is only to make people aware to keep the river Ganges clean and pure. They did not believe us. They went inside, searched our tents, searched our luggage, our bedding. They could not find any arms and ammunition. But my dear friends, I'm not able to visualize how they came and where they went away. They just vanished in the thin air. I don't know how. When they went away, I won't say went away, when they vanished, and when it was daytime, the village people came to us and they told us that you all are very fortunate that the dacoits talked with you. They could have killed you in your sleep, and they would have searched, found nothing, and they would have gone. So next day headlines would have been that 10 Jawans shot or 15 Jawans while sleeping. We were very fortunate that they talked with us, they searched our tents, found nothing, and just vanished in the sand dunes. They just vanished. This was another experience. I'll tell you one very funny incident which will make you all laugh. One fine morning, we were camping under a big banyan tree, and there were a lot of monkeys on the tree. And we were having our morning breakfast of bananas and bread. So the monkeys wanted to have the share of our breakfast. But as they came down, we used to hit stones at them, or we used to hit with broken branches, and they used to run away. Now see their brain. One monkey amongst them took a big stick and poked a beehive which was hanging from that big tree. And as soon as he poked the beehive, all the bees came rushing after us. And we just left our breakfast and we dived into the river Ganges. After a minute or two, when we came out, the monkeys were having our breakfast, enjoying the very sad expedition we had. Normally, along the river Ganges, all burning huts in India are along the river Ganges. So we were camping somewhere near about in Patna, somewhere close to Patna. We were camping at night and a dead body came. We were camping beside the burial ground, a burning hut. And we did not know it was a burning hut. We made our camp, we were having our dinner, and we saw a body coming. And they lighted the fire. and the body was, I would say, not even 1/4 burnt. They, they took the body after it cooled down, they took it out and they put it in the river Ganges. So I got a bit inquisitive that they haven't burned the body fully and they are floating the body in the river, unnecessarily polluting the river also. So the eldest in that group of people who had brought the body, I called him and asked him, I'll tell you in Hindi or I can translate in English also. See, bhai, why have you not burned the body fully? It's half burnt body and you are throwing it in the Ganges. He told me, listen, my dear son, it will take rupees 150 to buy wood to burn the full body. We have only 50 rupees with us to burn the body. We can't afford to have another 100 rupees. This is what we have and this is what we can afford, and we have done it. And I just want to say that even still today, there is so much poverty in our villages that it's beyond explanation or beyond telling anything. I was so sad the whole night that we could not, even today, we could not help these poor people to buy wood for burning a whole body. So sad, so depressing.
This
So
is
these
what.
are experiences. These are experiences one
Yeah.
learns in these expeditions.
Yeah.
Another good incident I will tell you. One of my rowers, early morning, he put his mirror in front of a tree and he was shaving. He put his cap besides him and he was shaving. There was a monkey on that tree watching him. He and went away, went on top of the tree. Now this Jawan wanted his cap back. He was throwing stones at the monkey, he was throwing sticks at the monkey. The monkey would not return his cap. So there was a villager crossing by in his bicycle. He asked the Jawan, what's your problem? He said, hey, look, this monkey on the tree, he's taken my hat, he's not returning it. So the villager said, you do one thing, you take your fellow colleague's hat, put it on your head, show it to the monkey, he will reciprocate. And once he reciprocates, you take the hat out from your head and you throw it on the ground, the monkey will follow you. So that Jawan did the same thing. He borrowed a hat from his colleague, wore it. As soon as he wore that hat, the monkey on the tree also wore that hat. He took the hat out, dumped it on the ground. That monkey also threw the hat on the ground. So this Jawan got his hat back. So this is I'll tell you another good experience, very funny one. I was in an administration ADM truck that was going along the highway that day, and we used to have a cage on top of our truck where we used to have chicken. And whenever we felt like having chicken, we used to pull down 5-6 chickens and we used to cook them and have it. So one morning I was in the administration truck and we were going by the national highway and we saw a lot of sheep going on the highway. So, and one sheep had gone a bit further up than the other herds. So we stopped the truck, caught hold of one sheep, put it inside our truck and we drove away. So we had mutton that evening. This is the VIP bungalow, bang opposite the Haridwar. And this is the bungalow where we were all staying. And as you can see, we are checking the boats before the launch, which will be the next day. All the boats have, you can see our 4+, we are checking the rudder. And the next day was the day of our launch. From this, they have a jetty here from where we were flagged off. This is the expedition photograph when we finished. We finished in Kolkata at the Man of War Jetty, and we were received by the Colonel Sehgal, who was in charge of the whole adventure. He is from the army, he is from the Army Ordinance Corps, and he received us at the Man of War Jetty. Yes. This is a very interesting photograph. As you can see, Mulayam Singh Yadav is standing there, the other army people along with the families, the local people of Haridwar, and before flagging off, the usual army slogan Har Har Mahadev was being shouted by everyone there. They're raising their hands and shouting Har Har Mahadev. This is what I was saying. This the Defence Minister Shri Mulayam Singh Yadav. He came by helicopter from Delhi, and he is accompanied by, you can see, the top 4 generals at that time from who came along with him from Delhi.
Okay.
He specially came to flag us off from Delhi.
That is a great honor for rowing, and of course,
yes, a great honor. Yes, a great honor for all of us.
Yeah,
the Defence Minister coming to flag off this expedition. Yes. This is myself a religious person, paying my regards to Mansa Devi there. It's a temple on the hilltop, and before the launch, I paid a visit to the temple for our success in the expedition and for good luck.
Apart from the message of cleaning Ganga, what other messages you all advocated during the row down?
And I would tell all our rowing friends that you should also plan these sort of expeditions to make people aware throughout India that rowing is a sport and it can be taken in a very big way. This was also one of the messages we were intending to spread right from Roorkee, Haridwar, Uttaranchal to our Bay of Bengal, that this is rowing and this is a very good healthy sports, and why not the youth of UP, Uttarakhand, Bihar, Bengal, they should take up this sport, especially in the district level, and enjoy this sport. This was also one of the messages we wanted to spread across Central Asia, Central India.
That's great to hear from you, the rowers of today. Those interested for a rowing expedition should bring out their notebooks and take down the notes of how to plan an expedition. Mr. Mehta, what was your usual routine during the expedition?
This village or maybe this town by this time. So more or less before we could reach that point, most of the days the army truck used to be there with a tall long pole having a white flag to indicate to us that we are here. Those trucks were carrying our daily tents, our cooking cylinders, our ration, and that truck used to travel along the highway right from Uttaranchal to Bengal. That truck was with us, carrying our fooding and tents and our blankets and everything. No walkie-talkies.
Was there any speedboats following you all for safety purpose?
No. Only at the later portion, after entering Bengal, Eastern Command sent a speedboat to videograph our expedition at the finishing end. But the starting into the water, it was not filmed.
With communication technology still not modernist, without any mobile and troublesome landlines, how did you all communicate with the admin truck and others?
Before launching the boat, we used to have a meeting with the truck administrative people that, see, now we are at point A. We will be reaching by the river Ganges to point B. This is here, point B is a village called, say, Y. We are starting from, say, X. Now this Y, the route along the Ganges is roughly plus minus 70-72 kilometers. Now you will be leaving by the highway So by evening, say 5 or 5:30 or 6, you have to reach village X. So that admin truck used to reach village X sometimes before us or sometimes after us. Whoever reaches village A or maybe village X or maybe point X used to raise a long white pole to indicate that we have reached. So normally the admin truck used to reach before us, and they used to ground a long white pole for us to see from the river that our admin truck has reached here. So we took our boats and we used to pull it along on the bank because that was all sand. There was no harm. The boats were not liable to get damaged on the sand. And then we used to have our evening tea, and dinner used to be cooked, and we used to have a dinner, and we used to have a campfire more or less every night. Fish was abundant. We used to fish from the river, cook it, and we used to eat fish. And the villagers also used to be very helpful to us. I remember that we very seldom used to buy vegetables from the market. Vegetables and milk throughout India we were given free by the villagers. They were so kind enough to see this. We had mutton, fish, more or less every evening we used to catch fish and have it. And sometimes chicken. Mutton was also a rare facility. Everything was on the house. Everything was more or less free for us. The villagers used to give us 2 buckets full of milk in the morning. Drink, beta, pure doodh jitna peena mangta hai. They used to give us a lot of vegetables, free. Fresh tomatoes, free. It was, people were really very helpful, very.
During lunchtime, how and when did you all have lunch?
Roughly around 12ish, we used to stop. We used to pull our boats along on the bank, which was, sand. And we had dry lunch in plastic packets. Dry lunch means sandwiches, eggs, banana. More or less, we used to have dry lunch. In fact, we used to have 5 packets in each boat, kept underneath the cox's seat, and we used to have that. And dinner, yes, we used to have a grand dinner every night because we were hungry as anything. And it was something new for those youths of those villages. And they also enjoyed our company, and we also enjoyed this trip.
So,
How all did you overcome the high tide and low tide situations during the expedition?
Actually, river flows from the Uttaranchal, from the, I would say, Gangotri, flows towards the Way of Bengal. So it was always what we used to row was along the tide. Only in Bengal we experienced this high tide and low tide problem. We had to station. I remember we used to station somewhere further before Belur or maybe Dakshineshwar. We waited for the tide to change for us to come into the Man of War Jetty. So throughout the course, it was along the tide.
What was the composition of the team, and how did you rotated the rowers?
This is a very good question you asked. A rower rowing today used to get 2 days of rest before he was put into the boat again. We had a team of 20 rowers.
okay.
So 2 boats used to go together. So that means 8 rowers rowing in a day. And the next day, those 8 were having rest. Fresh 8 used to come back. Or maybe someone wants to row again the next day. It was okay. We used to decide in the evening team meeting that next day morning, this 4 people will be in the boat. So the same crew used to row from sunrise to sunset. We didn't change in between. The other rowers who were not rowing on that day used to come by the admin truck along the highway.
Rowing is a sport where water is the main promoter of the sport. How was the water in the Ganges while you were rowing down?
Very clearly that up to about 100 kilometers before Kanpur, we used to drink water straight from the Ganges. We used to have those aluminium small cups which the army normally carries. We were given one aluminium that what you called enamel mug,
An enamel mug.
aluminium mug,
Yeah.
aluminium mug. So we used to carry one with us, and up to Kanpur, about 100 kilometers before Kanpur, we were drinking the river water. Absolutely pure, no trouble. As we were approaching Kanpur, and you all know Kanpur is very famous for its leather tanneries, we were warned not to drink the river Ganges water anymore because of the pollution from the tanneries. So then from Kanpur onwards, we used to carry our own distillery waters or mineral waters along with us. After Kanpur, we never drank the river water.
Okay.
Till Kanpur, about 100 kilometers before Kanpur, it was very nice water, full of rich minerals.
What did you all do after rowing? How did you all spend the nights?
90% we were staying in camps along the bank, places where the army had their units, like in Benares, army has its unit. Yes, there was Allahabad Fort. It's on the river Ganges where the Sangam is. There's Allahabad Fort. We were put up at the fort in Allahabad. In Banaras also, the army has a unit. They took us to the army unit, had a bada khana. Wherever army had their units, we were taken to their units and given comfortable beds and everything. But wherever there was no army unit, we used to camp on the river Ganges in tents.
After the initial expedition, why there was no such expedition till date?
It is costly, point one, a costly. And number two is these youngsters, I don't think they were aware of such a thing. Since after this, I am very sure youngsters would be keen to start this sort of adventures in rowing also. You remember Edmund Hillary went in his speedboat from Calcutta to the Haridwar. He went up the stream in a speedboat. He did not row down. It was rowing. This is the first expedition, a rowing boat. These rowing fours were utilized in an expedition. I don't think anywhere anybody has experienced or dared to do so. But I recommend strongly the youngsters should take up such expeditions in and around India to popularize rowing. We had another plan, as I said, to row in the river Nile. But unfortunately, the security problem, and we studied that the Nile has a lot of crocodiles. So we were not very adventurous enough to row along with the crocodiles. But I would tell you one thing, Subhashish, that along the river Ganges, we met a lot of friendly dolphins. And they were a lovely sight to be with. They were so friendly. They used to bark like dogs. And we used to give them bread. Then they used to jump along with us. It was very playful to have those dolphins along with us till the Bay of Bengal. It was a lovely sight, rowing along with the dolphins. CRC or Lake Club used to do Ganges rowing.
Yeah.
How lovely, how you used to enjoy that picnic.
Yeah.
See, and this expedition also, I told you that we had a lovely experience with the monkeys. We had a lovely experience with the dolphins. This is being close to nature. And see, as you said, rowing is what we do is we have to win, we lost. This winning, losing, winning, losing, it's very boring. Youngsters should have some adventure. See, like even in cycling, people go cross-country cycling, mountain cycling, they want to enjoy. But in rowing, it is very unfortunate. No rowing federation or maybe association wants to popularize expedition rowing.
Yeah,
Rowing with nature is another totally a different sport.
yeah,
Totally a different sport. And unless you do it, you will not be able to experience the enjoyment you can have with the nature. But yes,
What was the grueling after effect of the expedition?
I think it is at times very strenuous, very torturous. I'll tell you, after about a week of rowing, we took this expedition in March, and along the Ganges, there's no trees or anything to shade you. And after a week, Tuasis, we got so sunburnt that we could rarely open our full mouth to have a sandwich. The blood used to ooze out from the side of the lips. It was so torturous. And we did know that we were not carrying any antiseptics or any ointments to put in, but it was just pure nature and us. The sun, the moon, the stars, and us. And oh my God, I slept for a week. It was terrible. Subhasit, it was just terrible. We did enjoy, okay, but very, very, very strenuous. Very, very strenuous. And see, you can imagine sunrise to sunset, sitting under the sun in a boat, though it was cooling, the wind used to blow. But the sun was terrible at times, and especially in the month of March, very hot, very hot. But yes,
yeah.
that's the point of it. That's adventure.
That is
Everything
advantage.
can't be smooth. Everything cannot be
Yeah.
smooth sailing in an adventure.
What boats did you all use for the expedition? Was it any special type of boats, or the normal rowing coxed fours?
Yeah, our fiberglass four plus. See, long time back when we didn't have these fiberglass boats, we
Yeah,
used to take our wooden clinker boats for Ganges rowing.
yeah, yeah.
See, we used to put the clinker boats on a tiller,
Huh.
and we used to take it on the Ganges. So wooden boats can withstand the Ganges.
Yeah.
Fiberglass boats are strong enough, and I think these four plus are excellent for adventure.
Okay.
I would not recommend 4 minus, but 4 plus is an excellent adventure boat.
Mr. Mehta, Ganges is one of the main holy river of India, and the banks are spotted with many temples, which you had visited, to pay homage. So can you tell us, how were you all welcomed there?
We visited temples. We were given a very warm welcome in this Mayapur, this ISKCON temple.
Okay.
We were taken inside, given a warm welcome. Even in this Dokineshwar Belur Math, we were given a warm welcome. That was the first time I could sit in the foots of Makali and worship her. We were given VIP treatments there. We had good experience. Everywhere we were treated like VIPs. The villagers used to feed us like VIPs.
Final advice and request from Mr. Ashok Mehta and his expectations from the next generation of rowers.
I would say the youngsters should plan such expeditions, and we seniors can always guide them. We had another program, we could not fulfill it because of some reason. We wanted to row in Mansarovar, highest lake in the world.
Okay.
We had one program that we will take 2 boats. See, what I heard, I haven't seen the Google as yet. Mansarovar lake is about 4 square kilometers. And
Fine.
at that altitude, we had planned an expedition to take our force and row at Mansarovar. But we could not fulfill it. I would advise our next generation to fulfill one of my dreams to row in Mansarovar, the highest lake in the world.
I am sure, a rower from the next generation has already heard your advice and idea of rowing at the Manasarabar lakes, and assure you in near future that will be a reality. When a coxed rowing fours boat would be scaling the waters of probably the highest lake of the world.
This should be. See, only attention, go and easy oars is not rowing.
Yeah.
We only think of rowing is attention, go, easy oars.
Yeah.
That's all we know in rowing. People also think rowing, oh, it's competition. Rowing, it's torture. Rowing, it's a concentration camp. But my dear friends, no, enjoy rowing. Go for outings, go for adventures. You will enjoy rowing also. You learn with nature, you will learn more. So this is my advice to the youngsters. Take rowing as an adventure sport, not only attention, go and easy oars.
We thank you for listening to Mr. Ashok Mehta, the wonderful experiences during the expedition Hippo has charged us, and I am sure you liked it very much. In the coming episode, we will further peek into the life of Mr. Ashok Mehta, where from a champion rower Mr. Mehta transformed himself to one of the most successful rowing coach of India. Request everyone to stay with us same day, same time, next week when we meet again. In the meantime, we'll request you to subscribe our channel and like and share this video so that another rowing lover can also learn about the wonderful chapter of Indian rowing.